Good evening. My name is Richard Cream, and I'm Chair of the Permanent Public Building Committee. Welcome to the April 7th, 2025 edition or meeting of the PBC. Under Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, issued March 12th, 2020, and in effect until termination of the emergency, meetings of public bodies may be conducted virtually, provided that adequate access is provided to the public. On March 28th, 2025, the remote public meeting provision was extended through June 30th of 2027. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded to the town's YouTube channel for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. The following members will be participating remotely: Stuart Chandler, Lynn Denninger, Bob Germany, who will be arriving shortly, George Kent, and Erwin Silverstein, who also will be arriving shortly, and I as chair. All votes will be conducted by roll call and recorded as such in the minutes. That brings us to the first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. The chair is not aware of any comments having been made with respect to the minutes that have been prepared and distributed to the committee. And I believe there are two sets of minutes, if I'm not mistaken, both for the most recent meeting of March 10th, and I believe the prior meeting. Is that correct, Catherine?
I thought we had voted on that, or do you recall that we hadn't?
I had a note that we were going to defer because
Oh, okay.
they were distributed that day.
Okay, so we can vote on both of them, or
Yeah,
we can approve both of them.
yeah, exactly. So it's going to get my pull up my agenda here. Okay, minutes.
So
All right.
February
Yeah,
10th.
I've got the March 10th and the
February 10th.
February 10th. Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we will again, the chair is not aware of any comments having been made with respect to either sets of minutes. One final question, any comments with respect to those minutes? Either one. All right, hearing none, we'll deem both sets of minutes to have been approved by the committee, and the chair is directed to file them accordingly. Thank you very much for that. The next item for business is the Emery Grover project, and for that, I'll turn the microphone over to, I believe, Hank.
Actually, I'll take.
Oh, sorry, Ken.
I'll lateral to
Okay, good. Okay,
I'm not fast enough, Hank. You better
all
find
right.
someone else. If you recall, the past couple meetings we've been talking about the noise complaint from the neighboring condos. I can't remember if at the last meeting we discussed we had performed the sound study. We got the results of the sound study. The HVAC units are in fact operating in excess of the allowable limit. And BH+A and their acoustical consultant are now working towards a solution to this. One of them being putting baffles in the elbows of the exhausts of the two heat pump units. And the mechanical engineer is now looking at it to see if those baffles will restrict the airflow enough that it become problematic. So we're waiting on them to weigh in before we move forward with a final design and then figure out how to proceed from there.
In the meantime, has anything been communicated to those who expressed the complaint in the first place?
To be honest, Richard, I don't know. The communication had all been through the school office. So Dan Gudenkantz is aware of what we're doing. Whether he has passed that info on, I cannot say.
Okay.
Is this something the vendor would pay for?
Well, that's up for discussion, George.
Isn't there
their modeling had indicated that it was going to be less than the allowable limit. It came in well over the allowable limit. So, not running around pointing fingers, but I don't think it's the vendor so much at fault here as it would be the design
That's
either the
correct.
acoustical modeling or the designer.
Unless it was in the spec. If it had a DB in the spec, then the manufacturer owns it.
Well,
Right.
there was none, Lynn. The cut
Okay.
sheet,
Then
the
the
cut
design
sheet
team,
show
then the
that the,
design team owns it.
Where is the specification for the limit? How
that
do we
is
know?
the town does not have a noise reg. So it defaults, much like we've discussed with generators over the years, at least since I've been here almost 7 years, it defaults to the DEP, which is basically 10 decibels over the lowest measured limit. So they do sound studies at the property line. It's always seems to be 30. The background noise always seems to be 30, no matter whether it's over at Cogswell, whether it's at Hillside, whether it's at the Cath. Here at Emery Grover, it seems to be 30, which means the allowable limit is 40. So that's where it comes from, George.
And what is the number that we're seeing?
It was between 57 and 62.
Then I think that
That was at
vendors,
11,
vendors-
11:30.
the vendors
almost
still should be, I think the vendors still should be responsible.
Not the vendor, George. It's not the vendor. The vendor's cut sheet's very clear. It's a 60 decibel reading.
I see.
Either the modeling is off, or the mechanical engineer goofed up somewhere.
I see.
But the acoustical modeling came in at 38, which is under the 40
By our
for the specified unit.
mechanical engineer.
No, the designer's acoustical engineer.
But we own him. Essentially.
Well, yeah, we hired the designer and the designer hired the acoustical engineer.
And are we getting full cooperation from them?
Oh, yeah, they came out and did the study, the second study to measure the as-is conditions. I have asked for some further information. I want to see what the measurements were at the unit itself and right in front of the exhaust louvers, which I know they measured because I was there with the guy the night he did it. So I know they have those measurements. I have not gotten those back yet. I need to follow up with Deborah at BH+A, but I asked for that last week. I haven't seen them yet.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments for Ken on this issue or anything else related to Emery Grover?
Ken, we have the invoice and the PO, right?
Yes.
Okay,
There's a PSS
PSS.
thing, yeah.
okay. All right, Ken, we ready to move forward
Yes.
to? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. The chair will move that the committee approve PSS number 15 from BH+A. That's for acoustical consultant in the amount of $7,850 from the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
A question?
Yep.
There's no second.
No, sir?
Is this the work that he's doing now to solve the problem that we have?
Yes.
So why are we? I guess I'm
Well-
playing hardball here.
Technically, you own it unless it's an errors and omissions.
Yeah, technically we do own it, but I feel uncomfortable paying the bill at this point. I think there ought to be some give by the designer.
That is going to be part of the upcoming negotiations once we get all the
Retainage.
the data and everything else. But that was in the back of my mind, George,
Yeah.
to roll that all together when the time comes. But we need to get the PSS approved in order. Well, they've done the work already, but technically we need to get the PSS approved and then the subsequent invoice, and then we can take care of them from there.
Okay, so this is just the PSS with no bill attached.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. We will certainly revisit this.
George, while you have the floor, would you like to second it or?
Now I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on the motion?
I think we had that.
We already had the discussion, sorry. A little out of
Just thought
order.
to ask anyway. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
I,
George,
I,
and the, okay, and then Michael's not here tonight, Ann,
I,
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. All right, we have pair of invoices. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from, well, actually, we're going to vote them as one, as a single unit, although there are two different vendors here, but we have a total here of, which I'll articulate in a moment. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoices for payment from E.G. Vanderweil Engineering for February commissioning services, the amount of $1,784 out of the miscellaneous budget. And also an invoice from Fast Signs for a vinyl sign rather, in the amount of $118.57 coming out of the miscellaneous budget for a total of $1,902.57. Again, the two invoices together, $1,902.57 out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion?
second.
Thank you, Lynn. Just curious, Ken, the vinyl sign refers to what?
It was the welcome sign when you walk in there around the reception area.
Perfect. Okay, great. All right, any discussion on the motion which has been seconded? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
I,
George,
I,
Ann,
I,
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And I believe that's it for Emery Grover. Anything else, Ken? Before we move
No,
on?
sir. No, we're
Okay.
good.
Terrific, great. All right, that brings us to our next agenda item, and that is the RT replacement at Elliott and Broadmeadow. Ken?
All right. The big thing here is Elliott's moving along. We're closing out the commissioning. I just got a report that it just came late this afternoon. I have not had a chance to review it yet, but hopefully we can close out the commissioning within the next week or two. The next step is at Broadmeadow. From a status standpoint, they'll be out there tomorrow measuring up for some materials because not next week after next, vacation week, they're gonna be doing some piping in the mechanical room. They're gonna try and do the pad for the air source heat pump outside and get some fence up. We'll see how the weather helps them out there, but they're gonna get that started. We got the bids back. We only got one bid back for the roof. If you recall, we went back out for the roofing with total replacement at the RTU units as opposed to repairs, because we got a very high number for the repairs. The low bid we got for the repairs was 270,000, and we had, estimated it at 70. So there's quite a delta there. So we went back out and did another round of bidding, but this time for a complete replacement for the three roof areas in question. Those bids came back at roughly 724,000 with a deduct ultimate for EDPM roofs of 114, bringing the total cost down to 610. And everything added on, the change order will be approximately 634,000. We'll still have a little under $1 million left in the contingency. And if you recall, we had very little, I think we had 30,000 roughly in change orders on the Elliott side. So we got plenty of money, I think, there to carry it. We sent the material over to CAM, the HVAC GC/GC, and they're working on a change order, which hope to present next month for the actual work. And they're trying to get the worked into the schedule and get the roofer going so that he's ready to go when they're ready to go come June.
so it sounds like we're paying a lot more for it because we're down to essentially only one bidder.
I can't say, George. I mean, the number is a little high on a square foot basis. Access is an issue, but compared to the paying 270,000 for just the repairs, 630s, well, actually 270 would have been higher with the markups and all. So we probably would have been in excess of 300,000 with the markups.
Right.
And for roughly twice the money, we're getting complete replacement on all three roofs. And Barry had the roof replacement at Broadmeadow in his CIP for over the next 5 years. So it was getting
Yeah.
replaced in the near future anyways. If we can cover it under this project, I think that will help Barry out in the long term also.
Yeah. All right. I guess there's not much we can do about it. That's a tough business. You almost have to take what you can get.
Right, and there's no option here except to go back to the original plan of the 270 for repairs.
Yep. And that you're not getting a bargain at all.
No, not at all.
You're getting,
Not when a similar amount of work at Elliott cost I think it was 65,000. So
is it because everybody's busy in the summer? Or
well,
just not-
we thought by going back out now we might get a little better pricing, but it didn't play. It's tough to tell. We've got just the one bidder.
Yeah.
With the repair work, the bids were 270, 285, and over 300. The three bids we got. So, I don't know if people are hedging bets with materials. Who knows?
Right. Well, we don't happen to have a lot of friends in that business, so to speak. I mean,
No.
they're good vendors, I think. We've worked with a bunch of them, but nobody's going to give anything away these days.
No, that's for sure. With the uncertain times, no, you're right.
All right.
Any
I don't
other?
think we need a vote on anything right now, Richard, because we'll be
Okay.
voting on the change order when it comes in.
Okay, so we'll defer action on the two
Yeah.
invoices then?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But we can do the I think you got two invoices there for
Yeah.
GD, correct? We can
Yes.
still vote on those. I just wanted to
Okay.
bring everyone up to speed on the roof.
Got it. Okay, great. Any other questions or comments regarding the R2 replacement before we go to the invoice vote? Okay, hearing none, the chair will move that the committee approve the following invoices from GGD Consulting Engineers. The first for January 2025 services at Broadmeadow, $4,000 even. That's out of the designer budget. And the second being for January 2025 services at Broadmeadow for the roof design, and that's in the amount of $43,200. The grand total of the two invoices is $47,200 coming out of the designer budget. So we'll be voting $47,200. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Okay, not hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
thank you. George,
All right.
and Ann,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else regarding the RTU replacement before we move on?
No?
Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the library phase one. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we sent around the filed sub bid results, and they were pretty good. Pull those up.
Want to pop it up, Hank? I got it.
Let's see, bid tabulation. I think I've got that right. Yeah. Sorry, working on a small screen here.
I got it ready to go if you want me to pop it up.
Let's see. You all see that?
Yep.
Try enlarging it up for you. So just reviewing this, and there was some late breaking news today as well. So in the glass and glazing, we got 2 bids, but GVW is restricted only to themselves, which is fine. Kapeloff Glass at 119 was the low bidder there. We've worked with Kapeloff on multiple other projects, including Emery Grover. On acoustical tile, we only got 1 bid, and that was from GVW. Again, restricted to their own use. Following consultation with town council, what we're going to do is instruct the other general bidders to carry this, to get their own supplier for the acoustical tile and to carry that number in their general bid. And if GVW is the low bidder, general bidder, then they actually have a choice. They could use Kapeloff, but they'll have to declare that for the glass and glazing. On the HVAC, initially the apparent low bidder was Thomas Snowden, but they were roughly 30,000 less than our estimated value, and they came back today indicating that they had a mathematical error and were asking to rescind their bid. We need to double check the language. We're holding on to the language within the bid documents. We are holding on to their bid bond just to confer whether we will not return that to them and cash it in, or given the mathematical error, I think previously the committee's response has been to excuse bidders when there's a mathematical error. And then in the electrical filed sub-bid, Galway Electric was the low bidder and slightly underneath the estimated value. So all in all, I think we did okay with the filed sub-bidders. And we will be issuing direction to the general bidders that they should use Performance Plumbing and Heating, or to note that Performance Plumbing and Heating becomes the low bidder once Thomas Snowden backs out. Are there any questions on that? The general bids will be coming in on the 17th of April, and we would plan to bring all of those back to the committee at the meeting on the 29th for approval following our review of the bids. Okay.
Anything else, Hank, of note?
The other, Hank, the other thing there is we've got, nope, sorry, wrong project, never mind.
Right.
That's DPW, pre-quals at DPW, never mind.
Now we do have an invoice from Util.
Yep.
I can let me see what this one is. In the package that I sent you, I did include also a comparison with the cost estimate. It's an 11 by 17 document. It's almost too large to share. And it's a little bit out of date because we hadn't yet accounted for Thomas Snowden backing out. But generally, we were we're about 30,000 under our estimated cost for the filed sub-bidders.
Now, for the, there's been no determination, I take it, Hank, with respect to the Friends of the Needham Public Library contribution? And still
Um,
pending, is that correct?
That the potential contribution is still available, but we wouldn't rely on that until we get into the FF&E ordering.
Mhm.
And we did have a meeting today with UTEAL regarding the colors. There'll be many colors in the teen area, and the library staff were there during that review today. I see Irwin has his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I just got in, but Hank, when you were presenting that document, I thought I saw the top left-hand corner, Emery Grover, and that was confusing me.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
There's the library project.
It is
Okay.
the library project, and with the multiple changes that we've had, we changed that at least twice.
So I didn't know if we were bidding another project on Emery Grover. That's why I was.
So,
Well, the nitpicker engineer that you and I are, I saw it, but I just ignored it, Erwin.
You're a bigger man than I am.
I was gonna mention it at the end, but I figured it was just a carryover from another spreadsheet.
that is correct.
Thank you.
Very good. I guess Ken, Hank, I think we can proceed to the invoices then.
Yep.
Okay, terrific. All right, there's a pair of invoices. Well, actually, one is from UTEAL, and that's for February 2025 services, and that's in the amount of $37,862.00 from the architect's budget. Is there a second? So the chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Gerhard,
Aye.
and I don't think Rob is on. Okay, well, the chair votes aye. Thank you. The second invoice is,
Oh, wait, here,
Oh.
let me, well, I'll promote him to panelist. I didn't see him there,
oh, okay,
but he can vote on the next one, I guess.
well, we'll take his vote, yeah, it's okay. I haven't, we haven't gavelled it closed yet, so,
There,
okay, Rob, the motion is still on the floor, would you care to vote? Cast a vote, yes, yay or nay?
Yes, I would like to vote yay.
Okay,
Aye.
perfect. Thank you. Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. All right, now that we have disposed of that particular invoice. The next item is from Project King. That's for bid hosting and printing services. And that's in the amount of $1,076.54 out of the miscellaneous budget. The chair will move that the committee approve that invoice as just noted by the chair. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we will proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Stuart,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Gerhard,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Anything else on the library project before we move on?
Nope, that's it.
Gerhard? Okay, Very good. All right, well, thank you, user reps for joining us tonight. Appreciate it, and thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
You bet. Okay, we now proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the DPW complex phase 1. And for that, I just recognize Hank.
Yes. Ken and I can tag team on this.
Mhm.
Let me get, hang on a sec, Hank. I don't know what order we want to take this. I was gonna go in no particular order. Let's see, where's the budget?
I have the
There you go.
I have the spread
Yep.
ED cost estimate. Which
So that was in the package I sent out. Hank, can you scroll down to the bottom for me? Thank you. You can see the reconciled comes in at about 16.25 million, including all the overhead, et cetera. That's up a bit from the schematic design and up from the original budget, although the original budget goes well back, so it's not surprising that it's gone up. Again, this is schematic. This is not construction drawings or even 80% CD. If you remember, the original goal was to have bids in hand for the November town meeting, but we were asked to push it up so it could get approved at the May town meeting. And Hank, what's the number that's going in at town meeting?
19.6.
19.6. And you can see that we've got the roof, we got the alternates for the roof system, solar array, air source heat pump in the existing garage, but in discussions today, I think we're putting this on the back burner. Those heaters in the garage are fairly new, and Barry feels he can handle this going forward when the time is right. And for the 1.1 million, it's probably not worth it. But what we did talk about was changing the alternate 2 to photovoltaic on the existing roof and do the two buildings together on part of its solar array. So that may be the route to go as we move forward with this. But as it stands now, that 16.25 is the reconciled current estimate for the project.
I should note that we also had discussion about tariffs. And currently you'll see that design and pricing contingency we're carrying is 700,000. I think that the cost estimators felt that the overall drawings were pretty tight, although the HVAC work was lacking. And that was on a cost per square foot basis, but they believe that within that design and pricing contingency, that is likely to be able to cover anticipated steel tariffs. And the structural steel is not fully reflected in the metals line. Instead, it's being carried
Special construction.
special.
13, yeah.
Yeah, about 2 million under special construction, which would be the steel building. So even if the tariff is 25% of that, that would push us into the $500,000 range. So they're pretty comfortable with this 16.24 million.
You have a question?
Yeah, can I just
go back and make sure to play this back right, because I'm interested in the percentage. So the 706 contingency, the design contingency, is where we are considering any kind of tariff impact. That's question one.
And any further development within the design, of which there still is some evolution in the design.
Right, but and you said it was pretty tight. So the design you feel pretty tight, fine. But
Yeah.
from a material standpoint, what percentage have we built in? Where I'm trying to go to is if we're going to spend $100 on materials, steel and lumber, are we carrying a $25 contingency? If you follow my math, are we carrying the 25% in these numbers?
There's very little wood in this building,
Well, okay, call it steel.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but
The
steel.
key materials that we know are going to be impacted, and it's not a question of are they going to be. We know they are. This is going to be a mess in the next year plus. So I just want to make sure, and I know I keep asking this question, so I apologize if I really haven't digested it, but I'm just trying to make sure in these numbers we are being smart in terms of what materials are up against this tariff, and have we really considered it? Because just a generic contingency, right, can absorb 5–10%. But I just want to make sure our math is there, that we're really being smart about
Yeah, well,
identifying those pieces.
We have, Stuart, we have, Hank and I actually probably 2-3 weeks ago, maybe more now, went through each of the line items. Hank, if you can scroll back up to the top for me. Concrete should not be affected. Masonry should
Right.
not be affected. Metals, that's the miscellaneous metals. And even if you throw a 25% on that, it's not a big number.
Right.
Moving down the line, no, you know, for the rest of the stuff, it's tough to say. Some contractors may be getting Canadian-made drywall, others may not. So the short answer to the long answer to your short question is yes, we have gone through these line by line to try and assign a number to them based on what we currently know about the tariffs and where the material generally comes from. And as you noted, steel and timber, not enough timber in this building to worry about it, but steel being the big number. You got metal door frames. Again, is it domestic?
But you got but Ken, you got HVAC too. You know a lot of this equipment.
Agreed. And we tried to look at that end of it too. How much of that is ductwork and, you know, Chinese components on
Pure
electric
mechanicals,
parts,
right.
and
Right.
it's a moving target.
Is it-
It
should-
is, but I think
should-
it's better to get to a point where we actually have a list separate to this that says basically in the metals, I know it's small, but if we take 223, we take 25% of that because we know it's steel. We got 25 covered. We're kind of looking at that within the bottom line contingency. Okay. We look at HVAC. If we know HVAC is 50% of that 2 million, $1 million is sitting in mechanical versus duct work, or maybe the whole thing, right? $250,000 just if you take the top line. But if there's some pieces underneath it that really show that we are considering and understanding that some of that may come offshore, you know, $1 million, we know that there's 150, there's 250,000 sitting there. And we come down to electrical. Now, electrical wiring and everything else. I'm not sure if wiring is still made. A lot of the copper and everything else is not coming from Mexico and everywhere else. So I'm just saying, as we move forward, I think we should be just getting a little bit refined about that.
We
Thanks.
will continue to monitor it, but for right now, yes, we have done that. We have looked at the different components, and until such time as, you know, we have a better idea on the tariffs and all, you know, who's getting charged. Well, you know, China's now starting next week is up to 34%. So it's evolving, but for what we have now for materials and tariffs, the short answer is yes, we've looked at that, but I would expect as we continue to evolve and things become clearer, both on that front and the design front, we're probably gonna have to make changes to that and adjust it upwards. But
I-
as of right now, who knows?
I have a suggestion. We really don't know much about this, nor does anyone else. And why don't we simply try to put the tariff increments into one bag and include them in the bottom line, so that when we do find out what the tariffs are, we can see how that fluctuates. We may have to use that as a flexible item to go back to the town and say, we had no control over this. They can understand that, and we need more money to do that.
But I do want to note, George, that we are carrying above and the contingency that's noted on this is the cost estimators contingency. They call it design and pricing. And as you may recall, in most
Right.
projects, that number gets eaten into the rest of the budget by the time we get to 80% CDs.
Right.
We are carrying above and beyond this 1.75 million in contingency, construction contingency.
Primarily for the
For everything.
for everything.
And we are carrying 1.6 million for soft costs and FF&E. So this 700,000 we would expect to be merged into the overall cost estimate as things move forward, but that would still leave us with a $1.75 million contingency for the project.
Somehow we've got to identify how soft that is regarding the effect of tariffs. And as long as you've got an asterisk somewhere so that you can add them all up at some point in time, because some of them may go away and some of them may stay. You don't know.
Yeah.
No, we have had discussions about adding a separate tariff contingency, of which some of that 1.7 would probably come out of, and maybe even some of the
Yeah.
700,000.
See, I would feel a lot better if I had that, but if you think it's better the other way, then I would defer to your judgment.
I don't think it matters how we present it. So having a contingency line item, I agree with your previous statement that it would be easier to present if all of a sudden 3 months from now, they say, oh, sorry, Canadian Steel, you've now got a 50% tariff. And thus the tariff contingency goes up.
Or if it goes away.
Oh, if it goes away, right.
Yeah.
Hoping against hope.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It's just it's a matter of presentation, and we can continue to fine tune that. It just needs to be noted when it's presented at town meeting that 19.6 is based on the, actually that it was 19.6 before all these tariffs came into place. So it just needs to be noted that it's subject to the whims of the executive.
True.
We also distributed a draft of the FAQs, and that the overall budget items were pointed out there. And part of the rationale for having the bid alternates is that if we're fortunate and the bids come in at approximately where we're estimating them to be, we might have some latitude to buy out the solar PV, for instance.
Stuart, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna go back to it. I mean, I don't think we have to break it down to an anal individual line item, but I think Ken and Hank, I think what's gonna be important is if it goes to town meeting, I don't know if anybody will really need a full presentation on it, but I think the question's there. And I think if we are able to articulate, you guys have already started it by highlighting these line items and highlighting where you think it could occur. But I think we need to be prepared and be able to answer the question of where we are accounting for tariffs, potentially. Sure, tariffs can change tomorrow, up or down. But if we don't have an identification and an ability to answer to say, yes, folks, or even to us in this conversation that says, listen, metals, of the metals, we know the steel generally has been coming from X. We know that there's a potential that the sub bids are going to go to Canada or they're going to stay local. I think is a lot more comforting than just saying, hey, we're just going to throw a 10% contingency on there. I just think in this environment, we have to do a little bit more due diligence, be ready. Just my opinion.
Well, I can tell you from experience, Stuart, that yes, the steel will likely come from Canada, although the markets may change that because who knows if, you know, Mexico and Canada are going to end up being subjected to the full tariffs, but we have to consider it. So
Sure, but Ken, I think what's very valuable to me, I don't know if it's the other committee members, but I think certainly people in this environment I'm getting a sense of, is that your answer right now is perfect. It says, we know it comes out of Canada. So because of that, we're putting a contingency of 25% in there. Now, if it doesn't come from Canada, that's a benefit to all of us. We won't be eaten into that contingency. That actually helps within our budget.
no, it would probably be, if it's Chinese steel, it'll be 34%.
Okay, well then at least we're prepared. My point is here exactly to my point. We're
Right.
prepared to be able to say, listen, if it comes from Canada, we got 25%. If
And
it
that's what
comes
we-
from China, it's 34%. Guess what,
And that's
folks?
what
We have a
that's what we count.
$25 to a $35 range that we are accounting for in our design work.
Even with the tariff, it might be cheaper coming from Canada.
Yeah, but just my
Yeah,
mere fact
exactly.
of what I just went
Yeah.
through, I think is very enlightening.
Right.
For this
I'll give
environment, for spending our money, that's all.
I'll give you the rundown, Stuart. The miscellaneous metals carried 25%. The special construction, which is the building, carried 25%. The HVAC, I think I had in the back of my mind 15%, only because not all of that is metal work, although a lot of the domestic sheet metal is domestic. But figure that you're gonna have to get some of it from overseas, and there's certainly gonna be electrical components. They're gonna carry a 25%, probably half that number is gonna carry a 25% tariff.
Hey, Ken, I spoke with Jared Tortora, one of the cost estimators, and he's scheduling meetings with all these big companies in the metal buildings to see how they are positioning for these tariffs. So maybe
Okay.
next time we go through, we can have them
Good.
highlight some of the things they've heard by talking directly to those
Yep.
companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
We
that's
need-
all I'm saying. I don't
we need
want
to
to,
find
I
out
don't
where
want to
it's
go into
coming
each line item, Ken, right now. What I would like to feel good about is that it's there and it could be backup material to this would be helpful. And I'm talking to some construction guys on a weekly basis, just from other acquaintances. But it's interesting to see what they're going through and how they're estimating certain pieces. And I think you've done the work. I know you guys have. You're professionals and you guys are always well prepared. But however, I don't see it, and I just like to have that extra piece there and know that we're prepared and we've done our due diligence against it, because I think we are in an environment that calls for it.
It's just in the presentation. I think maybe we put that line in at the bottom that is a tariff contingency, and then, you know, can point to that and say, this is what we're figuring the tariffs are going to be based on current conditions.
Now, also remember that about half of these numbers is labor. Maybe 60% of the cost is labor. So the actual tariff would not affect the labor cost. It would affect the material cost. So when we're talking about a little over 2 million for the special construction, well, maybe 60% of that is material and 40% labor. But David, you might have other experience. I don't know if you want to weigh in on this discussion. You're muted. Sorry.
Sorry. It is a very difficult subject that we're going on multiple projects. And Hank, you're right. It is just the material costs. We're actually working with estimate with Suffolk Construction, and they're putting it at 3 to 5% on their overall cost is going to be based on the tariffs. If you take labor, materials, all the overheads and profits, and all the markups, they're estimating about 3% inflationary cost is we're going to see. That's based on what we know right now. Again, if tariffs go up, if the market goes down and there's less construction going on, that could also affect it. So a lot of it's going to be a wait and see. And sooner we get out into the market and see how the prices come in, the better. A lot of the steel that we get is from Canada. That's where the fabrication yards are. So, they may make the raw steel in the US, but it gets shipped to Canada for fabrication. And then it comes back and then it has the tariff on it. There's no easy answer as you're all talking about. And, putting a line item on there, you could mark 25% of 50 or 45%, saying that's your material cost and you're gonna escalate at 25%. But you're also gonna increase your bottom line, and I'm not sure what that's gonna look at when you're going to voters on trying to get a project done. Because you're really making a guess at it. And right now we don't know how the market's gonna react to this.
All right, Stuart, we will make an attempt.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I just think it's very important that we can articulate those pieces, and I understand that, for example, that the labor could be 50%, but if this trade war goes on and on and on and keeps ratcheting up, hopefully it won't. This is all just a blip. At least we've got a line item. At least we have an understanding of where we can dial up and where we dial down the impact of the project versus, well, we kind of don't know. I think there's some key evidence in there.
Well, and then the question will come at town meeting, why not wait until October? And I think the sooner we get it on the street and get it bid, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there'll be another discussion, which is maybe the bidding environment, because the labor market will be becoming more attractive, less cost, but I won't get into that. But I know there's dynamics, but having the dynamics in a framework that can be articulated is helpful versus just a bottom line number. That's all.
Erwin?
Thanks.
A question or comment?
Yeah, I just have a related question. I'm just curious, when the bids come in, is there going to be some kind of qualifier from the bidder's perspective on this uncertainty? So, yes or no, and if there is, then that seems to just add to our uncertainty. I don't know to what extent they can qualify this uncertainty factor about the tariffs. So just a general question about that.
I don't think that they are allowed to.
Well, I think
a CMR,
that's going to be a discussion. It's like when we got hit with COVID-related increases. They will claim force majeure, that government has acted and created an increase in their cost. I think that's something we'll have to look to our contracts and the lawyers and see how we can best protect ourselves in that bin environment.
We even had a little bit of that back in the previous Trump administration when there was some of those issues that came up when they were negotiating the new agreements with Mexico and Canada. So, you know, that's going to happen. They're going to put something in there to try to recoup whatever tariffs they have to put in that they don't know about.
Okay, any further discussion on the question of tariffs before we move on to the invoice, one invoice?
I do want to talk about the generator.
Yeah, I want to talk about the generator. I also want to talk about prequels.
You want to go
Yeah, I got the generator here.
generator? Let's see.
Everyone see that?
Not yet.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Originally, the plan called for the generator to be located in the red shaded area in the lower right-hand side there. The sound study was done, that you can see the property line. Actually, you can see the property line is not that far away, even though the nearest house is way far away. And there's a mountain of ledge between them. Regardless, the standards say at the property line. So it's too loud at the property line, and that was going to result in a $200,000 customized jacket on the generator. So we looked at other locations. The one next to it there to the left was on the small mezzanine above the electrical room. The one in the middle was on the mezzanine in the middle of the building. And the one in the top left there is outside at the end of the connector. And looking at the costs and the logistics and all, it was determined that that last one there, the one in the upper left, was the best location. The acoustic engineer is now looking to see whether the building will shield the sound enough, or whether we may, in that heavy red line there, is a potential block wall that may have to be built to encompass the sound, so to speak. Those numbers, I think, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the cheap option was 195,000.
Yep. And the sound engineer did say the block wall will be required. He said, I think it was 10 foot tall, but he was supposed to send me the specific recommendations last week, but he didn't get to me yet.
Okay.
The main increase is that we want it to be close to the electrical room, as there's a lot of expensive copper wires between them. They're high, like 400 amp rated lines. So the farther away you go, the more cost you incur. But if you put it inside the building, there's a bunch of other mechanical and structural ventilation stuff that adds up pretty quick. But in order to meet the sound study and keep it in the preferred location, we would have to get, I think we got two quotes. One was 260,000 for a custom enclosure, and one was 230,000. So it's cheaper to move it up Plan North than it is to buy a custom enclosure. It's also cheaper to move it outside than to move it inside. So that's kind of how we got there.
Yeah, just curious. So you're saying the electrical room is near the top left?
No,
It's near the
bottom right.
Bottom right.
Yes.
And then, so it's cheaper to go there on the outdoor section, correct? That's the bottom right?
We want it in the bottom right, but it doesn't meet, we can't make it meet the sound ordinance because the property line comes to kind of a point, can't really see it, but you can kind of track it. It comes to a point, and right there, the ledge wall kind of is not as tall. So there's about a 95-foot space where there's not a lot of ledge between. And that one spot failed to meet the sound requirement. Unless we go with a custom enclosure, which,
You would never rearrange the electrical design to accommodate the top left?
It'd be difficult because the upper left has the locker rooms, the bathrooms, the training room.
The electrical is also coming from the bottom of the page too, so that's why we kind of put it.
Right, it'd be one line in though, into a box, so you're extending that, but, all right, fine enough. The only other question I really had was it, if you do that top left, from a maintenance standpoint, any kind of replacement or issues, you gotta go through the building. If you're ever to lift it out, you have to put a crane up and over, right?
We probably have to go crane up and over, yeah.
Yeah,
Versus the bottom right, you can just go around the corner.
they
Yeah.
they can worry about that in 50 to 75 years when the time comes.
Well, you never know, Ken, maybe in 10 years it blows a gasket, I don't know. Anyways, those
Yeah,
are
but
just my.
then it's covered by warranty, so we're good.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we should be able to access it for normal maintenance and repairs, but doing a full replacement, you'd probably crane over the building.
Okay, all right.
Okay, very good. Anything else, Hank?
Yeah, we have this job requires pre-qualifications for both, filed sub bids. There's 8 of them, and for general contractors. I've got the, paperwork about ready to go to get it out on the street. We're anticipating sometime, we're gonna wait until after town meeting to put it out there. And then sometime late May, early June, we'll be getting the bids in, the qualifications in, and pre-qualifying the subs and the GCs. And I'm looking for a volunteer from the PBC to serve on that committee. It'd be one day, it'd probably be just one day. May even be able to do it on Zoom, but maybe also in person. But if somebody can give us a day to go through these and get all the information ahead of time to review it. So all we'll do is we'll sit down and just go through and rate them and thumbs up or thumbs down. There'll be Dave Billings from Lyro Hill, myself, Barry, Tyler or
Tyler.
someone from his shop.
What day are you
and then-
looking at, Ken?
I haven't said a date yet. It'll all depend on when I get whatever date I send to set the bid. So we can work the meeting can be worked out. The rest of us are more flexible than a member of the committee. So we can work
Yeah, well,
around.
what I'm saying that is I'm willing to volunteer, but I'm out and away from the 15th through the 30th.
Of May.
No, this month.
Oh, it won't be this month. It won't be until
Okay,
after
so I'm
town.
happy to help out then.
Okay.
But actually, just to further that, I'm away from the 20th of May to the 28th or 30th, I think, somewhere in there. So.
I think we can work around that, Stuart.
All right, so I'm happy to volunteer.
Okay.
Richard, if you need to.
Thank
I'll
you,
put
Stuart. Appreciate it.
I'll put you on the list.
A general comment to the chair.
Yes.
I think everyone at some point in time should take turns doing this because it is a good experience.
Mhm.
So if someone hasn't done it, I think in the future, we ought to encourage everyone to participate.
We try not to make it painful.
Yeah.
That's right. But it is a good experience to go through that. And I think it would be helpful. So whoever hasn't done it, be ready.
Duly noted. All right, thank you, George.
And the last thing I had, Richard, was yeah, I'm tongue-tied here. The PowerPoint presentation that Hank did for FinCom. I sent that out as part of the package. I don't know if anybody had any questions on this, if they want to run through it. It's all material you've seen before.
We also sent out FAQs. And when you read through those, please get back to me if you have any comments. We've been working on those with Karis and her team. And also there's the FinCom folks who deferred action on this at their last meeting are invited to walk through 470 Dedham Avenue tomorrow evening at 5:30, right, Karis?
Yes, yep.
So if any members of this committee want to see the condition of 470, you're welcome to join us.
This will be similar to the one we saw previously, right, Hank?
Yes, so it's a walk through the existing building.
Yeah.
George, I think you've been through that many times.
Yeah,
It wasn't all that hot when our offices were there. And that was
for sure.
a dozen years ago.
Yeah. No, that should be an eye opener for anybody that does it.
Agreed.
And so in the FAQs, we tried to go all the way back and reiterate the points that were made during the facility master plan and steps that have been taken since 2010 when the PSAP building was constructed.
Hey, just a quick question. Do you need any action from the committee with respect to the generator question before we move on?
I think just consensus that back left side is acceptable is sufficient.
I think it's a reasonable approach. Any other comments from the committee? Okay, I'll take that as an acceptance. And,
I guess I can discuss this off site, but I had a couple of questions I was going to ask Hank regarding kind of trying to be creative rather than wrap a building around this or stick it inside the building. Is there any way to do this so that you're deflecting the noise out more the opposite direction? So you're building maybe a partial structure that can absorb some of it and deflect some of it. I don't know if that's possible or if they're looking at things like that. Noise is a funny thing.
Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons why we tried moving it back there, was to use the building as more of a screen. I mean, we can make it work back there without a custom enclosure. So it's more than twice the distance, and distance is a big thing with sound. But I mean, we looked at 4 other locations and there's not very many other options available.
So the best one is way back there.
Yeah, if we have to meet the noise, that's the best one. If we didn't have the noise requirement, then where we were showing it would be the ideal location.
Erwin, question or comment?
Yeah, when you say it exceeded the noise requirement, was it significant? Was it marginal? Was there any thought to George's point about sliding it a little parallel to the building, or it really wouldn't matter if you slid it a little further?
When I was speaking with the sound engineer, he had his sound model up and he has the building modeled, and we sent him the topo and he has everything modeled, and he could drag that sound location around, and moving it anywhere on the backside didn't help. Even moving it where the generator transformer was a little bit better, but the most benefit was on the far side of the building, as it's the farthest away, and it also has the building act as a screen. So yeah, so I would say, to answer your question, yeah, we have looked at that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Very good. All right, if there are no other comments with respect to the DPW complex, we will proceed to the one invoice that we have, and the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Weston and Sampson for February 2025 services in the amount of $88,223.68. That's coming out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Erwin. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will proceed to the roll call vote. Just want to clarify, Karis, are you going to be standing in for Shane today?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, to the roll call vote then. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Karis? Karis?
Sorry, aye.
Okay, thank you. And Barry?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. All right, anything else before we leave the DPW complex discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed on to our next topic, which is the Pollard Middle School.
Okay,
Hank,
Bye, everybody.
thank you, Tyler.
Mhm.
thank you.
Have a good night.
You
Right.
too.
So I sent a link. I see a number of you have downloaded the information. We received 5 submissions to the RFS, and those came from Arrow Street, Doran Whittier, HMFH Architects, JCJ Architecture, and RDA. We have done a lot of work with Doran Whittier, and the only other firm that we have some contact with is RDA, as they have been approved by building maintenance, by Barry's team, for on-call services. But the town has not worked with any of them except for Doran Whittier. Tonight, we'll just have a general overview, and I'll ask David Billings to review the documents that I just sent the committee that he prepared over the weekend. And then we'll also talk about the next meeting, which will hopefully be in person on the 29th, when we can all be around the table to use the scoring sheet to determine what the committee's ranking would be. As we had previously discussed, the MSBA has 13 members on the designer selection panel, and the town will have 3 members. The MSBA usually listens to what the town priorities are, but not always. David, you probably have more experience than I on whether they listen or not.
Yes, they do listen. But one of the things they do take into account is how many projects any of the designers have at that one time.
Yeah.
So that's something that we are looking at. But we do have a good group of architects. We're actually currently working with Arrow Street on an elementary school in Newton. And we finished a good-sized middle school in Weymouth with HMFH. So we have very good experience with both of those. And I've also worked with Doran Whittier on a project in Webster, the Park Ave Elementary School with them that opened about 12 years ago now. They have a good set of consultants. I'm not sure if can I share?
You should be able to.
Let's see.
Somewhere there's a green button that with an up arrow that looks.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that it? Can you see it? Okay. This is kind of the rundown of the various consultants. Interesting, they all have chosen MLP, integrated design, for their educational programming. We've got a couple of different civil engineers, Semiotis being with 3 of them. CDW is Doran Whittier's, East West Engineering is Arrow Street. Landscape architects, I know Warren Larson very well. Brown Screen is another one I've worked with. I don't know Carolink. Structural engineers, Lynn Consultants, EDG, Foley & Poole, RES, all do a lot of schools. These for the MEPs, VAV and GGD, for Doran Whittier, CMTA for Arrow Street. I'm working with CMTA in a school downtown. RFS and GGD. Again, these consultants do a lot of schools. And they have a very good track record. Environmental permitting, peer group, CDW, Sabiotis. Cost estimating, they all have PM&C. Hazmat, usually UEC. CDW is going to be on JCJ. Really not a lot of surprises in any of these. I've kind of worked with all of them over the years. All 5 architects do a lot of schools. They've all done middle schools in the areas. They all have MSBA experience. We're still going through and looking at the specific staffing and making sure that they have the capacity. I did look at, Doran Whittier, and the senior architect is Michelle Rogers. She's just finishing up a middle school in Haverhill. That's under construction. So for Doran Whittier, she's going to have capacity, and the project architect is David Metzer. He's finishing up again in construction. He's got a school in Haverhill, and he's just finishing up working documents in Situate. So again, we got to look at his capacity. Again, I need to get a little bit more into detail in all of these, and that's something we'll bring up at the next meeting. But I think we've got a very good group of designers to look through, and we'll give you a little bit more detail.
Great.
Go ahead.
That's very helpful. The other thing we need to do tonight is to select the 3rd person who would represent the town on the designer selection panel. And there have been some initial discussions, and Lynn's name is, I believe, being put forward in that capacity to work with Dan Gudekanst and Elisa. Richard, I think we should open that up for discussion.
Certainly, yes. Hank and I discussed this the other day, and we reached out to Lynn and to George, and I think the consensus amongst the various discussions that we've had is that Lynn would be a fabulous choice for this designation, and I would certainly recommend to the committee that that Lynn be designated as the PBC representative to the designer process. So with that, I'll throw it open to the committee for discussion.
I certainly would second that. In fact, I suggested that Lynn be the candidate. I've done this before. It's a challenging but interesting task. I think to kind of second what was said earlier about the MSBA listening to the town, with regard to Needham, because of our reputation being so strong with MSBA, we tend to be a real leader in their eyes, and so they listen very, very carefully to what we have to offer. Now, if Doran Whittier had a lot of projects and had the bulk of them, we probably wouldn't get them on this project. But so I think, generally speaking, if we have a strong feeling about a particular architect, they will definitely listen to that, especially if that architect doesn't happen to be overwhelming the field, so to speak. But I think Lynn would be an excellent representative on that committee, and they certainly would listen to her input very carefully.
Discussion? Lynn, are you ready, willing, and able to serve?
Mhm. I am, and I
Okay,
poured
excellent.
over all of the responses. I'm actually kind of surprised, David, that there were only 5, so I was shocked, actually. I mean, I think it's a good cast of characters. Obviously, I have an opinion on those that I think rise to the occasion, and I think it's a huge investment for the town, and I think we need to be very proud of what we get. So I think it's an important decision. So yes, I'm happy to take it on.
Perfect, thank you. All right, well then, I think, I don't know if we need a formal motion, Hank, but.
It wouldn't hurt.
Okay, very good.
I recommend Lynn as our representative for the PPBC on this very important committee to serve with MSBA.
Thank you. A motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote then. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
I get to vote for myself?
Sure.
That seems weird, but okay, yes.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Elisa,
Aye.
Tamitha.
Aye.
Thank you. And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lynn, for stepping up to the plate. Appreciate it very much. Anything else on Pollard? Hank, or
Yeah, just a reminder, Lynn, that the first meeting is on the 6th of May, and the second meeting is on the 20th of May. During the first meeting, there'll be a short list of 3. And at the second meeting, there'll be interviews with all 3 presenting, and a ranking 1, 2, and 3 of those top firms. And then we would initiate negotiation on contract with the top ranked firm. That's the process we would go through.
And is there going to be a hold put out? A
What's the
calendar hold?
question?
I can do that. Yep.
That'd be great. Thank you. I put a blanket hold across those days, but if we could narrow it, it would be great.
Yeah, the meetings start at 8:30 in the morning. And depending upon the agenda, and they are by Zoom. David, I think they're still by Zoom.
As far as I know, they are.
Okay. And if you're in town and available to come to EG, then we would probably convene in the superintendent's office or one of the other conference rooms.
Yeah,
at EG.
that's great. If it's first thing in the morning, that's excellent. I'm not downtown yet.
And they're pretty efficient in these meetings. It should last probably no more than an hour and a half on the first one. The second one might be a little bit longer, but generally they're pretty efficient. So much of your work will be done outside in terms of evaluating what your comments and your input is.
I'm usually on the other side of the.
Yeah.
There are 2 sides to this table.
Mhm.
excellent.
Great. And so we'll meet in person at the next meeting and have this discussion, and also have the bids in hand for the library project to talk about.
And
I
the PSAP, correct?
at PSAP, Catherine in the Charles River room.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's on a Tuesday.
Mhm.
It's on a Tuesday
Tuesday
because
night.
of League of Women Voters is on the Monday night.
Right.
Very good. All right, there's nothing else on Pollard. We can move on to our next agenda item. Thank you, user reps, for joining us this evening. Appreciate it very much, as always. Okay. All right, we have some miscellaneous invoices, and we will take those up at this point. The first is for the Theater and Sound project. Actually, the they all are. The first is for the committee, actually, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Walker Specialties Incorporated. That's for the Pollard School rigging repair in the amount of $26,980 from the general contractor's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. I don't think there are any user reps on here tonight. Okay, very good. Thank you. The second invoice, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Hushot in the, this is for March 2025 services at Newman, and that's for $18,000 even out of the designer budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
thank you. Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you. And the third invoice is for environmental response services. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from Environmental Response Services Incorporated. That's for disposal of stage lights containing asbestos in the amount of $650 even, and that's out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Erwin. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. I believe that concludes the invoices for this evening. And now we come to the last agenda item for the evening, and that is the PBBC updates and future meetings, etc. So as I've reached out to the committee informally to kind of gauge the consensus on an individual basis as to your preference for meeting in person versus remotely versus hybrid. I think the consensus is that hybrid really is not really a good fit from a technological perspective. It doesn't seem to work very well when we've tried it. But certainly there are cases where where we might have to institute it. But I think the consensus seemed to be from my discussions with each of you is that it appears that a mostly remote with a in-person meeting sprinkled in perhaps on a regular basis, and of course on an as-needed basis when the subject matter dictates, such as with respect to the April 29th meeting. So I'd like to just open up for discussion if if everyone is agreed that that's the approach we would take. Again, majority would be remote going forward, but we would occasionally have a meeting in person, again, either on a specific timetable or and also on an as needed basis. So any comments? I should note that the governor has extended, as I mentioned at the outset of the meeting, the option for remote and hybrid meetings through June of 2027. Any comments?
Most of you probably know that my feelings are that having remote meetings where most of the topics are relatively routine, such as invoices and just updates, etc., is a reasonable use of everyone's time. But once in a while, I think there are issues, for example, as you start a project, and we're going to have some of those kinds of meetings with the Pollard project that are going to be really important for the future of how that project is structured and moves forward. I think we need to just be open-minded about having periodic meetings about something as critical as Pollard as a new project as we begin. and maybe even others that in the future. But generally speaking, I think we should do that on a regular basis at the beginning of projects, especially.
Erwin?
Yeah, the as needed basis is pretty clear. I'm just curious what would define the timetable. Would it be a meeting every 2 months at least, a meeting every 3 months, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 6? Is there any definition of what the timetable would be besides the as needed meeting?
That's really up to the committee. I know, Erwin, you had mentioned that you thought once every 2 months would be a reasonable approach. And I certainly think that makes a lot of sense. Another possibility is once a quarter. Really, it's really up to the committee, however we'd see fit.
I think we need to look at it on the basis of what are the critical decisions that need to be made. And you might have a project where you meet twice in the same month at the beginning of the project, but then not meet for another 3 months. I think that's subject to the committee's perspective overall.
Yeah, I think, George, I agree. I think that what I had said at the outset was that perhaps a combination of setting a regular cycle of an in-person meeting. I know there are a number of members of the committee who do like the option of meeting in person, but in addition to that, we would have specially designated meetings as the situation arises or need arises to schedule an in-person rather than a remote meeting. So, and I think we have the flexibility to do that. I believe Catherine has reserved for the balance of the year, correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, the option for in-person meetings, which we can always cancel
Yes.
if we so choose. But we do have the option to meet in person, every meeting going forward. But obviously, we would probably scale that back to something that would reflect both perhaps a regular meeting in person, and in addition to that, of course, as needed, as you mentioned, George. That's how I envision it.
And Richard, I would point out that the Pollard project, particularly in the beginning, is going to have working sessions. We'll have brainstorming sessions with the committee, and they'll likely need to be at least one, if not several, meetings where it's both school committee and PBBC at the same meeting. We did that at least once, if not twice, for Sunita Williams.
Right.
Yeah.
And the critical decisions of the options, 7th and 8th grade, and all of the programming elements. And then when we get into PSR, which is the second stage, and we're looking at multiple alternatives on 2 different sites, narrowing down a preferred solution is going to be critical to listen to this committee and listen to the school committee and the public.
And refresh my memory, Hank, what is the timetable that we're looking at for that process to unfold? What are we looking at?
Yeah, the preliminary program, the educators are already looking at drafting that program. But once the designer is on board, they will have about 3 months to complete that PDP. So that'll be during the summer, June, July, August. And then we dive immediately into PSR, and we would be looking to go through those alternative designs and get conclusion by the end of the year.
Okay.
That's roughly our time frame.
That's kind of what I had suspected. So I think what that's telling us is that really we should plan on a number of in-person meetings for the balance of the year, certainly on a more frequent basis than even just the kind of regular cycle that we had talked about of every couple of months with an as needed thrown in. So I think we should plan on probably, it sounds to me like maybe even half of our meetings going forward will end up being in person,
Yeah, I would,
the balance of the year. Way.
yeah, I would think come June, well, over the summer and through the end of the year. And we may need some flexibility to coordinate with school committee.
Yep.
Concurrently.
Okay. So I think then my recommendation is that we certainly will plan for a number of in-person meetings going forward, but we certainly will have the option to kind of reverse course or change course depending upon how things play out vis-a-vis the school committee, et cetera. And so there'll be some flexibility built in, but we should assume, I think, a good number of in-person meetings going forward for the balance of the year anyway.
I think just a general comment, if I could, one of the, in my opinion, one of the terrific aspects of remote meetings is that you can Zoom people in and out very quickly. You could have a mechanical design or an HVAC person available for a 15-minute discussion in a 4-hour or 3-hour meeting, let's say, and they don't have to drive 50 miles to be there. They could just zoom in and zoom out. And I don't want to lose that opportunity because it's really important that we get all that feedback as much as we can. Or one of our members that is on travel, but we need their input. We can't afford to lose that input. So, but that's something I think we can decide almost. I mean, I would hate to say almost on a bi-weekly basis, but I think if you're in a in-person meeting, the first meeting of the month, and we feel like we can do the second meeting without being in person, we could make that decision at the end of the first meeting of the month.
Yeah, I would agree. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So
I think then if I think the consensus is emerging, please feel free to weigh in if you feel differently. But I think the consensus is that we should plan on again a number of in-person meetings going forward for the balance of the year, each subject to kind of, I guess, the chair and the professional staff will discuss, and even at the committee level too. We can also certainly, if we know what's ahead in the next agenda item, and we think that it warrants an in-person meeting, we can certainly agree to meet in the next meeting in person. But other than that, we'll just simply play it by ear and see what the agenda looks like for each meeting, and we'll make that call well in advance of the meeting and let everyone know. That makes sense? Great. Okay, good. All right. So we will, on that note, we will see you at the in person. Happy to see everyone in 3 Dimensions coming up on April 29th. It's about time. It's been a long time. And look forward to that. That's all I had for other business, I should say. Anything else that the committee has that would like to discuss at this time before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Yes, Stuart, please.
Yeah, just quickly, on the 29th, I will not be here. I can
Oh.
zoom in if need be. So I don't know if that will impact the meeting.
Well, we'll try to patch you in. Again, I've not been overly taken with how hybrid meetings work. They don't seem to work very well technologically, but we'll give it a try anyway. So,
Yeah, but am I not mistaken? I thought April 29th was a Sunday. Am I crazy?
no, April 29th is a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
You want
Happens
to
to be
answer you want us to answer that question?
Yeah, I know. No kidding. Why am I? Okay. Yeah, so I will be traveling that day. Okay. All right. Yeah, so I should be able to tap in. So just keep me posted if you need me to tap in to that Zoom in that meeting.
good. Okay. And Catherine, just in terms of the our bookings for the balance of the year in terms of location, primarily I take it's going to be PSAB, and is that correct?
Yes, primarily at the PSAB, and there are a few at the town hall.
Good. Okay, great. very good. At some point, maybe next year, I would like to take up Dan on his kind offer to meet at Emery Grover.
Okay.
So,
Hey, Mr. Chair, I think we should have
Yes.
a meeting in the Pollard sometime.
there you go. That too. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, very appropriate. Very good. I think on that note, if there's no other business, I know people want to get to the game, watch the game. So if there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Thank you, Stuart. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Stuart?
Who
Aye.
you got, Stuart?
Well, I got neither, but at least Houston was the upset. So, at least I am third in the pool.
Okay. Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Stuart, I think I heard you vote yes. I know you were
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
thank you. And chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Great meeting, and we'll see you in person on the 29th.
See you, everybody.
That's
Good
good.
night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.